it going, guys? So I just tallied up the value of our game collection over on price charting, and it turned out that the value is 90 cents shy of $10,000. We have an estimated value of $9,999.10. So while yes, this number is just an estimate of the value, it's still a really cool milestone to reach, and I just wanted to make a quick video to kind of give you guys a tour of what that collection looks like right now as of July 2024, and to also provide some tips for anybody out there that might be in the middle of building their game collection. This collection took a long time for us to build up. It's by no means the most impressive collection on YouTube. There are far more impressive collections than mine. Compared to many, mine is just a little bitty baby of a collection, but it's something we're still very proud of nonetheless, my wife and I. Something that we've really been accumulating technically since childhood, because quite a few of these games are my originals from, when I was a kid in the 90s and the early 2000s, but as far as really consistently building on the collection, is something that we've built up over the last 8 or 9 years. So without further ado, to give you a quick breakdown of what the game room is looking like right now, along with some tips on how you can build up your own. So yeah, we'll start over here with the consoles first. Up on the wall is our collection of console boxes, along with collector's editions of Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. If you can't tell, I'm a massive fighting game fan. This Sega Saturn is something that I just acquired within the last year or so. Big fan of the Saturn growing up. It was a really underrated system. So I've actually got 2 of these now. And come to think of it, on price charting, I only added in the complete in-box Saturn. I did not include that I have an additional Saturn that's loose. So technically, if I go back and do that later today, I guess that will push the collection right over that $10,000 point, assuming that a loose Sega Saturn is worth more than 90 cents. Over here on this side, N64, GameCube, the red and blue Pokemon 3DS. That thing was hard to come across in 2016 when it was new, and I believe it is probably, could be wrong, but I believe it is probably the most valuable item out of all the boxes and consoles up here. This Game Boy box belonged to my wife as a kid. It's something that she just recently brought over to add to the collection, so that is a welcome addition. You can see here going down the line here, I've got the PS Mini, PlayStation 1, DualShock, PS2, PS4, PS5, and conspicuous by its absence is a box for the PS3, so I am on the hunt for a nice looking PS3 box to add to this collection. The question is, where am I going to put it? Because I'm just about out of shelf space. But that's been kind of the name of the game with this room from the beginning, optimizing the space that is available to us. We're always making changes and trying to make improvements to make it look as neat as it can, and we're kind of actually in the middle of that as we speak. That's why we've got a few boxes, a few things on the ground here, a few things kind of ready to be donated or recycled, leftover stuff, a few things on the floor, always in the process of optimizing and trying to make things look better. And down here are the actual consoles. Yes, so starting from left to right, we've got the assortment of Game Boys, the old school fat Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color. Moving on to the Super Nintendo, N64, with WCW Revenge poking out of there. All-time great game. GameCube, Saturn, Dreamcast. Excuse this table with the fine artwork on it. Kind of blocking the view there, but we're going to make it work. Nintendo Switch, Sega Saturn. This is the loose Saturn I was saying I've got. The other Saturn is actually inside of that box, along with the original receipt from 1997, which I thought was super cool. I love it when people save that stuff. I try to save it, a lot of that stuff, for things that I buy for my own collection that I think are memorable. It might be cool to look back on one day. Genesis with Wolverine inside of it. I was playing that the other night. Dreamcast, PS1, PS2 Fat over here, PS2 Slim, PS1 Mini, one PS3, another PS3, PS4, and a couple of decommissioned PS2s that are unfortunately not working. One of them is my original that I first got as a kid. It broke many moons ago, and I just don't have the heart to get rid of it, so it's just kind of hanging out there waiting to be repurposed for something maybe at some point. And the other one, I believe, belongs to one of my friends during childhood, and he just kind of left it over at my house. And I can see why he left it over at my house, because it was not working either. So they're both just kind of hanging out here until I can find something productive to do with them. Now moving on to the games. Like I said, by no means is this the most impressive collection on YouTube. This is like, 1/30th of a lot of people's massive collections that they've got. But what I do is look for the games that I really actually enjoy playing, games that actually have meaning to me, and that's what I choose to invest my money into. We actually just downsized quite a few PS3 games. I have maybe twice as many PS3 games as this, but I looked through them, and a lot of them were games that I never am gonna play. There's no point in me owning them for practical purposes. They would just sit on this shelf for the next 30 years and accumulate dust. So we downsized and threw it on eBay. So this is my collection as it stands. Definitely plan on adding more to it over time. That is something we'll be doing, but I'm going to grow it slowly and with quality games that I actually enjoy. You can see the setup here. A lot of wrestling, Spyro, Crash Bandicoots, Metal Gear Solid, one of the all-time greats, Mortal Kombat's, WCW, WWF. Many of these are my originals from childhood. Didn't buy very many of these as an adult. Managed to hang on to these. PS2, Virtua Fighter, Gran Turismo, more Mortal Kombat, Metal Gear Solid 2. All-time favorites of mine. Moving on here, PS3. More Mortal Kombat, more Metal Gear. Can you see a theme? PS3 came out during a time that I was kind of in that phase of really kind of like in between, really kind of like not super into video games. By the time I was like 17, 18, I'd pretty much grown out of them for a period of time. I was off doing teenager things, and playing video games wasn't like a huge passion for me like it was when I was, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. So many of the things that were released on PS3 at the time were not something that I played when they came out new. I was actually going and playing this Mortal Kombat, actually not even playing it, but just being really bored one night and looking up the story mode on YouTube and being obsessed with the story that was being told, which led me to actually go out, buy Mortal Kombat for the PS3, plug it in, instantly hooked again on games, just like I was as a kid. And that was kind of my reintroduction into really being passionate about games again, just about 10, 11 years ago at this point. Moving on to PS4, we got Crash, we got more Spyro, more Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball, Tekken. Tekken, I think, is an underrated series. I've always been a big fan of those games. Same thing here. Some Super Mario World, which came with that Super Nintendo you saw in the box over there. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the video game. My mom always used to play as Madame Woe for the fighting game for the Super Nintendo. She would always beat me. I could never win in a 1v1 against my mom as Madame Woe. It drove me crazy. Still drives me crazy. I'm gonna get her one of these days. We're gonna have a rematch. I'm gonna get that fighting game for this console. I'm gonna sit her down and I'm gonna take her to school. Zelda Ocarina of Time. Remember playing that when it came out new. So ahead of its time. Truly an amazing game. And speaking of building up the collection over time, one of my goals is to have boxes for all of these games. I'm not trying to collect all 290 N64 games. I've seen a lot of people do it, and I think it's an awesome goal. It's very cool to look at, but going back to what I was saying earlier, for me, probably 2/3 of those games I would never actually unbox and play. So my goal is going to be to build the most high quality N64 and video game collection in general for me and my interests. So yeah, there's that. And speaking of N64 in the box, here is my complete in-box collection. Got some of the classics: Mario Kart, GoldenEye, WCW Revenge Again, No Mercy, Warzone. Here's a replacement case for No Mercy that I no longer need because I got the real one. And then of course some of my pride and joy Pokemon. All I'm missing from the original Game Boy games is the case for Crystal, which by itself is a good $400 to $500 these days apparently. So yeah, my 3DS collection and DS collection. A couple others in the box that I actually have downstairs. I'm playing right now, so they're not included up here. Heart Gold and Black 2 I've got downstairs. Nintendo Switch. The special Let's Go Pikachu release from Target. Bought that while I was working at Target. Pretty much the entire reason I own a Switch and the Game Boys are for the Pokemon games, if you could not tell. A small GameCube collection here. Paper Mario, Crash, Mario Kart Double Dash. And then finally, we've got the small Sega Genesis collection with a lot of childhood favorites. And the very small, but slowly but surely growing Sega Saturn collection to round things off, along with the budding Dreamcast collection. And so what are 3 tips that I would have for somebody who is currently building a collection of their own? Number 1, first and foremost, I would say to build gradually. Take your time developing your collection. Like I showed you earlier, this started off as we got serious about building a collection in 2016 as just one baker's rack of some games, some GamePro magazines, a few consoles. It took time for it to grow into what it is today. You know, we didn't do anything crazy like go into debt to finance a video game and toy collection. We moved at the speed of cash. We took our time and we try to make it a point to focus on collecting things that bring value to us instead of just hoarding things. Number 2 is do your research on deals. It's very tempting to want to jump on a hot item that you see, maybe marked up at a very high price. In some cases, that item might truly be that expensive, and you're just going to have to end up paying up if you really want to add it to your collection. But sometimes there are deals to be found if you do some research, kind of take your time, make sure that you really want to spend the money. I would even recommend making a list with a pen and paper. Write down a list of the things that you want to add to your collection. And over time, just be on the lookout on places like eBay, Mercari, out in toy stores, game stores. Keep an eye out for what looks to be a good deal instead of just paying top dollar for anything that comes your way as soon as you see something that is a shiny object that you might want to add to the collection. 2021, 2022, that was a really good example of prices in the game and toy market just being incredibly inflated, and a time where discretion might be advised. And lastly, consider the fact that you don't always necessarily have to pay money out of your hard-earned paychecks. You can start an eBay account, you can start a Mercari account, you can list items that you already have or go thrifting and find items at a true deal, relist them on eBay, take the profits from those sales, keep that money in an account, build it up over time, and just simply use those profits that you've made to build up a collection of things that you really truly enjoy. This is something my wife and I have just recently started doing. We have an eBay store that we just recently launched. We spend our weekends going to various Goodwills, yard sales, estate sales, and then the profits we stash away in an account so we can use them at a later time to buy something that we actually are really excited about adding to this collection. For us, it's fun, it's something to do together, and it can be a way to really build on a budget. So that is all for this time, guys. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you haven't already, please like the video, please subscribe. Keep hanging out with us as we continue to post more content like this. If you'd like to check out that eBay store that we've got up, I'm going to put a link in the description below for you to check out. Yeah. Drop a comment below. Let me know what else you guys would like to see in the future. We've got more history of videos coming up. We have more deep dives into collections throughout this room coming up. I'd like to know what you would like to see. So drop a comment below and let me know. Thanks a lot, guys. Be safe. Take care. I'll see you next time.